starting 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, welcome back to our fourth virtual town hall meeting. It is April 30th, Thursday, April 30th, 2020. I know that a lot of people have talked about these virtual town hall meetings, and they've really appreciated the information that we've been presenting. So we're kind of looking at maybe doing these the next couple of, continue to do these a couple more times to kind of keep people informed. There's going to be some great information today. I think everybody will be pleased with possibly reopening some things and really kind of moving in that direction. So let me kind of tell you what the updated information is in the state of Oklahoma and then specifically in Muskogee County. The current numbers in the state, and this was as of this morning earlier, they may be releasing, they typically release at 11 o'clock the current numbers, but as of this morning, we had 3,473 positive tests and 214 deaths. In Muskogee County, we have really maintained our 26 positive cases, which is really 2 weeks in a row. But there is some bad news. We've had our 5th fatality as of yesterday, so very saddened about that, and really our hearts and prayers go out to those folks that experience that. So let me kind of talk a little bit today, and I want to talk more specifically about what our next steps are. I think that's a really big thing right now is you hear the governor talking about the possibility of opening some of their businesses and getting the economy really kick-started back up. So we are in the process of doing the same thing here in Muskogee Public Schools. So our plan is this. We're going to go through what's called a phasing process. You'll hear this over and over. We've done a graphic that kind of shows you kind of what Muskogee Public Schools will do as far as how we'll proceed in moving forward. Phase 1 is really, our first phase will begin May the 4th. We will have essential staff on campus Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8:30 to 12:30. At this point in time, we've had very few people. Our custodians have come in when needed, maintenance staff, some of our administrators, and then also our child nutrition. But I will tell you at this point in time, we will be adding some of our staff to this and asking them to come in. We will also ask these employees to follow the guidelines for social distancing and wearing masks, because that's very, very important, is that those things are done. You talk about social distancing, it's that 6 feet apart, making sure that people are really paying attention to what they're doing and where they're at, and making sure that they don't gather in one location. So phase 1 will start on May the 4th. This phase, really, those folks will come to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then basically be here half the day. And basically at the end of the day, what will happen is this will happen for about 2 weeks, and we will evaluate kind of where we are and what happens. Phase 2 will begin May 11th. I know that this kind of overlaps with phase 1, but I think this is important to understand, because phase 2 really, we have more and more people coming to work, more time is spent, and so this is going to change a little bit of what we're doing. Number 1 is in the phase 2, the ESC, the Education Service Center downtown. Our staff will work on what's called a rotating basis. We'll be open every single day from 8 to 4:30, but we will have probably about half our staff here each one of those days. So it'll be an every other day process, and our certified staff will then be notified during that time about what their expectations are. So for instance, our last day of school is May the 8th. We will go from the weekend will be off. Starting that Monday will be the 11th, and the 11th through the 15th is basically when our teachers will be coming back, and really that will be our checkout time. Most of that will be done through their supervisor, through their principal, making sure that they get things turned in. And then also, we have a couple of schools that will be packing up, packing their supplies in their classrooms, and then basically making sure that they can be moved. Not forgetting that we have schools moving because of the construction that's happening. I want to also make sure that everybody understands, and this is huge for me because I want people to not be in harm's way in any way through this. So that both phases 1 and 2, we maintain the safer at home guidelines for those over 65 and vulnerable populations. It maintains social distancing in public places and cautions people of socializing in groups of more than 10. So I think that's really important to understand is those vulnerable populations. We will not ask, those that are fearing of the virus or have some type of medical condition, we will not require them to be here. We will ask them to stay at home, and that will be totally fine. Those that are over 65 definitely will stay at home, and then we'll make sure that we have this appropriate social distancing. The next phase is phase 3, and I think this is where people are really wanting to get to, simply because it's it's kind of like, let's open this thing up and let's move forward, because I'm excited about getting out. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get out of the house. I'm ready to go to a restaurant, sit down and eat, but we're just not quite there yet. We're still on that path. In phase 3, this will begin on June 1st. I would recommend, or I would say that phase 3 is going to last for about probably 2 to 4 weeks, simply because, again, we're evaluating kind of where we are, what we're doing, making sure that people are continuing to stay safe. This will mean that the ESC, the downtown folks, will work 4-day weeks, Monday through Friday. It will be basically a time for us to determine what we're going to do for our summer camps. I know that a lot of us are really wondering about what does summer school look like, what does summer camps look like. At this point, what we're looking at is maybe a start of after the 4th of July. I know that I don't want a hard, fast rule at this point. I don't want to make a statement that everybody thinks that we're not going to start anything until then. However, I think to go back to any type of normalcy to where maybe in band camp we're practicing as a group, our teams that go through Summer Pride practicing or doing something as a team or as a group, as a large group, won't be able to do that till probably in July. So that does not mean in June that they cannot do sectionals, they cannot work out during Summer Pride. Some of those things will be happening simultaneously, but as far as doing things as a large group, we're going to kind of hold on to that until after the 4th of July. I think the thing that I would say too is I realize the importance, because we're preparing our kids for competition, activities, those kinds of things for next year. But I can tell you that safety and security are probably much more important at this point than opening it up and making people vulnerable. Let me kind of talk a little bit next about the State Department guidance. That's the phasing that I've talked about. I'm going to move on from there. I'll talk more about that, but I want to talk about the State Department guidance. And these are things that really, what I would say, as things of conversations have occurred, a little surprising, only because I'm not sure how much agreement across the board there is. But here's what's being discussed at the State Department of Education. They're considering options of a common school start time. So that would say that every school in the state of Oklahoma, 540 schools, I think, school districts, would start all at the same time next year. They have not given that information out yet, but they're having that conversation. One of the things that they're talking about is really what they're calling loss of learning time. They feel like because of the time that we've been out, that there's been a lot of loss of learning. Now, I will tell you that, in Muskogee, I feel like that we've done a really valiant job, a brilliant job of really trying to get our kids online and giving them the distance learning. So I'm not real sure how much loss of learning has been done, but there's a huge concern across the state of Oklahoma. So they're looking at a common start time and looking at early August. If you remember my conversation last week, I was thinking that we might start later and maybe start after Labor Day. They're now saying that maybe we start earlier to make up for loss of learning. So I want to make sure that everybody is understanding of that. It may be out of our control locally. It may not be a local control conversation or even an issue where we can make that happen. So I wanted to let you know that I will keep you updated as best we can. In fact, we're getting ready to send out a district magazine that has our new calendar in it. And so if that were to happen, that calendar would be basically null and void, and we would have to start, come back to the board and really redo that. So wanted to let everybody know that. There's a strong belief also from the state level. There may be needs for closures in the fall. If there's viruses that, or the COVID-19 begins to hit again, they feel like that there could be closures in different sections of the state. What they have been clear about is that their intention is not to shut down the state like they did last time. So I thought that was pretty interesting conversation yesterday as they talked through that. What is really good for us, and I will tell you, they're encouraging other districts to create a virtual plan so that you have distance learning that you can automatically go to that. What I think is so interesting is that before this ever happened, we had started having conversations as a school district of how do we do blended learning, how do we do virtual education, how do we do the distance learning. And so all of those are really, I know that I use different terms on that, but I think you need to know that it's really the same thing. What I'm talking about is how do we get learning that would occur online at home without coming to school, okay? And so what we're looking at is that we're going to have 5 days next year that we're basically going to have built into our calendar that are going to be virtual days. So those are good for us to have on our calendar. In fact, have been used as a model or someone to refer to. So others have started to referring to Muskogee and what we're doing here in Muskogee to try to do virtual education and do it well. So excited about that, but I want you to know that there may be a need that we use those 5 days or even use more days and go to virtual education. I talked about this last week. What does the new normal look like in the future? I still think that we're still not out of the woods. I think we still have got a lot of work to do. And what I mean by that is social distancing is going to be something that is consistent. I think we're going to have to go through the entire fall and making sure that we're keeping our students, our staff in social distancing. So that means 6 feet apart. That means we're going to have to evaluate our classrooms set up. We're going to have to evaluate how we do lunches. We're going to have to evaluate a lot of stuff. And I think that's very important for all of us to understand is that It's not perfect, but I will tell you that our intent is to make sure that everybody stays safe. Next thing I want to talk about is our seniors 2020. I'm very excited to talk to you about this today because, you know, we had talked about false hope and really kind of giving everybody a chance to set a date. What would be that date that we would basically do a graduation? We had other school districts across the state that have chosen to do that. And what I will tell you is that a couple of weeks ago, we began to have conversations internally in-house about what could we do for our seniors. Could we do a virtual graduation? Of course we can. We can do a lot of different things, but what we have found out is that an in-person graduation is really wanted here in the community. So what I'm going to tell you is there is a tentatively scheduled date at the Civic Center for July the 24th, Friday, July 24th at 7 p.m. And so that's the first time that I've announced that. I want to make sure that everybody has an understanding that we don't require our students to be there, but I will tell you that we will go ahead and schedule that with the Civic Center. What I don't know at this point is what kind of gathering we can have. Can we have, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 at the Civic Center? We know that it will hold that, but we're not real sure that we can provide the opportunity for every single person that wants to attend can. What I would tell you is that it may go to a ticket situation to where there's only 2 to 4 tickets for each graduate to attend so that we can spread out in that location. You might ask, why did we do it in the Civic Center? Why are we doing that? And I'll be quite honest with you, it's because of the heat. We know that the middle and the end of July is when the summertime can really be hot, even in the evenings, so we felt like it was safer for everyone to actually be inside, and hopefully the Civic Center will make sure that the air is on. So we will be talking to them and making sure of that as well. Let's talk about the next thing. So I'm very excited for the seniors. We're also doing some things this next week I think you're going to be excited about for our seniors, and I'm not going to talk about that, but it's kind of a surprise for our seniors. We're going to celebrate them in a big fashion, in a big way, and so excited for that to happen. Let's talk about checking in of technology, textbooks, and equipment. I think we're now kind of toward the end, and so what we've done is we've created a graphic. I think you see the graphic that's coming up here. In fact, the graphic shows kind of an area at New Tech, Alice Robertson, New Tech. We're going to have a kind of a rotation to where you can drive your car up, you can check in your Chromebook, your hotspot. We also have equipment that we may have checked out to you. So it may be that we have given you another cord, we may have given you another device of some sort. We're asking that that stuff be turned back in. So we do appreciate everybody making sure that we do that and stay with that. The other thing that's in this rotation is textbooks. If you have a textbook, we need for those to be turned in as well. And then any other equipment. I know that there's some equipment that has been checked out. It may be everything from a band instrument to maybe a lock for a locker or something of that sort. So we basically want to try to become a one-stop shop for you, and we will have that manned for people to be able to give that during that time. I think the thing that I want to also say is this. I know that there's probably people out there saying, well, I want to go back to my school. I've got things I've got to get out of my classroom or my my cubby or my locker, whatever the case may be. We're going to actually provide opportunities for that through our principals as well. So you're going to be able to go back to Pershing Elementary if you have something there, or the 6th grade, whatever the case may be. You're going to have that opportunity as well. But this has really been set up for the bigger equipment, the things that, and the technology equipment specifically, to be turned back in. So we're excited about providing that opportunity to everybody and making sure that we get, again, to the sanitation. We want to sanitize all of our equipment this year and make sure that it's safe to check back out to staff and to students next year. So that's another thing that's a piece of this, that keeping us safe for the future is going to be very, very huge. So wanted to make sure that you had that. I think that came up on the screen, so hopefully you were able to get that. Last thing, we have 6 days, 6 whole days left. That's it, of the instructional time. You guys have all done a great job. I'm going to tell you that I am very proud of not only our staff, but I'm probably very, very proud of our parents and our students that have really stepped up and done a great job of during this time. I know that, you know, you always sit there and you think, gosh, it's only, 24 days that we're going to be doing the long distance learning. And I will tell you that it's been a long 24 days, and I understand that. So hang in there, continue to do the work, continue to work hard. I talked a little bit last week about specifics, about getting online, making sure that you're doing your work and logging in and doing the assignments. There's a lot of conversation after I talked last week about grades, incompletes, can I fail? The answer is absolutely. If you were failing before and you haven't logged in, then yeah, you can definitely fail. But if you've still got assignments that you're trying to do, you're trying to get zeros made up, those kinds of things, that we're trying to help. We want success. But we also want this time that you just completed, the requirement is that you do the work and that you do the assignments. That's why we won't have any lost learning if that occurs. So I'm going to take questions. I know I'm a little shorter this week, but I wanted to give you a chance to ask questions, and I'll try to answer those at this time.
First question, will library books be included in the book drop-off? Yes.
Question is, will library books be included in the drop-off? The answer is yes. Understand, too, that we will take names and all of that, so you're not going to just hand the book or hand your device in. What will happen is we'll take that from you, but we're also going to record who it's coming from, so that will be given, you'll get credit for that, okay?
At graduation, will we honor students who already left for basic camps?
So say that again, I'm sorry.
Will we honor those who already left for basic training or things like that?
Oh, honoring those that have left for basic training, yes. I tell you, one of the things that I think would be very cool is those students that have already left for basic training and the military. What we could do is a chair for them and actually put, maybe a flag or do something that is very patriotic to honor that student that has already gone to the military. So we will look through those things. I think that's a very important thing, is for those students to be honored, especially if they're serving our military. By the way, I want to say this today at 2:47 today, we are going to have F-16s fly through Muskogee, Oklahoma. Very exciting. They're honoring our caretakers and those that are at the hospitals that are really taking care of those patients that have COVID-19. So that's going to happen today. So I encourage you to get out and maybe even drive and go by the hospital. They're going to fly over St. Francis, and they also will be, I believe, flying over the VA. So we're excited about that today. At 2:47 is when they're supposed to come out.
Next question is, will we go over the dates and times for drop-offs?
Okay. Our dates and time for drop-off is really been given to me. We'll be doing May 11th from 9 to 4, which is a Monday. Tuesday, May 12th, 9 to 4. May 13th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, so a little later, which is nice. May 15th and May 16th, which is Thursday and Friday.
Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday.
I'm sorry, Friday, Saturday. May 15th and 16th is Friday and Saturday, 9 to 4 on both days. And so we're excited to provide those dates. And here's what I will tell you. We'll put those out on the website and send them out through social media and make sure that those dates are provided to you.
One from YouTube. If a person doesn't feel safe enough to come to school due to age, will that person need to use sick leave?
The question was, if a person doesn't feel safe to come to work because of age, will they need to use some type of leave? And the answer is, once we begin to come back, the answer is yes, that some type of leave will have to be taken. We've been really flexible during this time, and we want to make sure that everyone's safe. So our intention is really to keep everybody safe, and if you have that feeling that you shouldn't be here, there will probably be some type of leave need to be taken, but work through your supervisor to do that, and they'll help you and guide you through that.
Good. For senior checkout, work with the building principal will be likely to get those checked on.
Yeah, for senior checkout, you're going to work through your principal. I mean, there's a lot of things that we'll be doing to check students out. During the same time, we're checking out, teachers and staff. So work through your principal to make all of that happen if you can.
For counselors, students next year's schedule's being ready, not yet. Again, work with the building.
Next year's schedules, everybody's talking about next year's schedules and what that's going to look like. We're still working on that. Don't forget that you've got to enroll. You've got to make sure that your enrollment forms are in. That's how we develop those schedules. But the intent is that when we come back to school next year, is that a scheduled pickup will be created. So on the first day of school, you're not coming to school and not know what classes you're in. There'll be a scheduled pickup process and making sure of doing that. So counselors and others will be working on that through the summer and making sure that we're prepared.
Very good.
Well, everyone's done a great job. I know these have been very, very helpful. What I'm going to do is close down today a little early. We will come back at least one more time next Thursday at 10:30. I think it's been a kind of our regular time that we've tried to put together to provide this opportunity to give you updates. I'm committed to do one more week to make sure that people, and we still, we've had, literally hundreds on here every single time. I think our last time we had over 4,000 people view it. So we're getting a lot of people viewing these and making sure that they're getting updated. So we'll make a commitment to do this next week as well. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it, and stay safe.